Hello, amazing listeners. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about the complexities of adulthood, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I am your host, Bukola. You just stumbled on the right podcast. If you're tired of figuring out this adulthood phase all alone, now let's do it together. Hi, friends. So yesterday, like so many other days, I found myself enjoying the company of my thoughts while I was on the bus ride home. I never knew how much I enjoyed moments of solitude on the bus. You know, bus rides have always been something I enjoyed since I came to Brazil, and this is because I get to stay away from my phone. So staying away from my phone wasn't a choice I had to make. I'd rather just stay away from my phone and enjoy the city's view, while listening to music and reflecting on my life. Let's just leave it at that. So yesterday's moments were so lovely. It was just different. I found myself smiling as I recalled many good moments, sweet memories. In fact, I'll say I was missing home, and I was just appreciating my journey so far and how I have grown to be self-aware. I take pride in the fact that I know my strength and I know my weaknesses. So when I got home, I just started to catch up on tweets that I have missed on X. Sounds contradictory. So guys, if tweet is to Twitter, then X is to what? Let me know in the comment section. So that's by the way. I cannot remember the tweets verbatim, but this tweet just implied that people who are self-aware tend to always struggle with anxiety and are overly restricted from living life due to the consciousness or awareness of themselves that they have. Because somehow this message hits me, or in fact, I can relate to this message 100% because I happen to be someone who is very much self-aware. I'll even say being self-aware is one of my many qualities and one of the ones I'm actually grateful for. Discovering from that tweet that something as positive, something as nice, something as admirable as being self-aware can also have limiting effects just made me sigh. Like, how complicated can this adulthood phase be when you just feel like you've clocked something or you've developed a new character trait that is worthy of emulation, then you realize that it also has the other side to it. Anyways, in today's episode, we'll be talking about self-awareness in general. To what extent can self-awareness be a disadvantage? And I'll be speaking a lot from personal experience. Now before we dive into the conversation, how are you? Today's greeting is a very special one because I have a special announcement to make at the end of the episode. In the meantime, let me know how you're doing in the comment section. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing great. I'm just learning to take a day at a time. Now let's dive into the conversation of the day. Right before we dive in, let's hear what these amazing people think of the adulthood phase.
Adulthood is responsibility.
Adulthood is complicated.
Adulthood is growth.
Adulthood is maturity.
Adulthood is being independent.
Adulthood is stressful.
Adulthood has been confronting.
Adulthood is draining.
Adulthood is decision making.
Adulthood is resilient.
Adulthood is overwhelming.
Adulthood is fun and adventurous.
Remember, I'm not here to demonize this phase, but to say it as it is. To be honest, I think I have always been self-aware all my life. But let's just explain the idea behind being self-aware so we get to understand what we're talking about on today's episode. Being self-aware is your ability to understand yourself, like your ability to know what makes you you. And when you're talking about or thinking about what makes you you, you're considering things like your physical attributes, your beliefs, your values, your morals, your character traits, your emotional abilities, your likes, your dislikes, and everything else. So everything that makes you you as a person. And the concept on the idea of self-awareness goes beyond just having this deep understanding of who you are, why you are who you are. It also entails being honest with yourself. You can't be self-aware and not be honest because you have to just tell yourself some honest truth. You have to identify areas you need to work on, areas you need to improve on, and being honest is something that I have struggled with also, and I just feel like the understanding and acceptance of self, of me, for me, has come with time. It has come with growth. It has come with accumulation of different experiences and exposure. I have conversations with myself a whole lot. And I feel like it is something people who are self-aware do. You constantly have to engage with yourself. You constantly have to have like these conversations, review yourself, update your understanding of yourself. Change is the only constant thing. And as a self-aware person, you wouldn't be shocked by changes in yourself because you would be accompanying those changes. You're identifying them as they happen. You're embracing the positive and keeping the negative in check. I was talking to my friend about how much I've grown in the past year. A lot has changed about me, and I see it, I acknowledge it, and I'm thankful for the change because it has been for the better. And as a self-aware person, you can identify your toxic traits easily and you can work on them as they are discovered. There was a time a friend called me to rant about her problems. It's been a long time ago, very, very long time ago. Then she was talking about how she was feeling about a certain thing, and she went on and on. After she finished talking, I spent a few minutes, like maybe, let's say, I feel it's like 2 minutes or less, comforting her. Then I started ranting about my own problem. When I was reviewing that conversation I had with my friend, I started ranting about my problems because I felt like I needed her to understand that she wasn't the only one going through what she was going through at the time. And it was just to make her feel better. Like, I was coming from a place of making her understand that, okay, this adulthood phase is tough for every one of us and you're not the only one facing your problem. Your problem might be different in the way you have chosen to like manifest, but it's everywhere. But after the call now, while I was reflecting on this conversation, I realized that I didn't give my friend the listening ear that she needed at that moment. She just needed me to listen. She just needed me to tell her that she'll be fine. She just needed me to just comfort her in any way I could, but not by just telling her my own problems. Then it looks like we're doing a competition of problems. Where you go, I have gone through this, and someone goes, no, what you have gone through is very little compared to what I'm going through. So I really felt bad that I wasn't able to be there for her when she needed me at that particular time, and I was unable to provide the listening ear she needed. After I realized this, I'm sure she must have even forgotten that we had a call. I still reach out to her. I reached out to her because I felt like I was being insensitive to her problems, and I just reached out to apologize that I didn't have the right words to say at the time she was telling me about what she was talking about, and I would do better. From that particular incident, I noticed that I did not know how to listen. But the fact that I took that pause, I took that break after that conversation to just reflect on the conversation, I was able to discover that, something was wrong. And I was able to discover a toxic trait I could have, which is not being able to listen. The moment I realized it, I started trying to hold myself back. When people call me to rant, I just listen to them and just try to say one or two. Self-awareness, aside from the fact that it helps you know yourself, it helps you put yourself in check, it also makes accountability easier. You can own up to your mistake easily when you're self-aware. You just have this level of maturity about situations, and you do not mind making up for your wrongs. You do not mind owning up to your wrongs and just trying to make things right. Talking about how difficult it can be, being self-aware is not something that we can do easily. It is actually difficult. It comes at the cost of having embarrassing conversations with yourself. One hard truth, or I had to tell myself last year after I started my master's, was I saw the academic gap. It was there, it was clear. I didn't even know what was happening in the international sphere. From the first class I discovered that I had a lot of work to do. I knew little about what was happening in the international sphere, both past events and current affairs. I knew little to nothing. And it was a really bitter pill to swallow. Imagine having a conversation with yourself and coming to a conclusion that, okay, I don't know as much as I think I know. Accepting this truth at that time was really difficult for me. But what happened is I didn't make it my reality. I knew that, I identified them as my shortcomings, and I was willing to do the work to become better. I made changes in my habits. I started listening to news. Like, now you see me listen to BBC News every time. You think, this girl is very, very up to date. It was a habit I picked up last year, and I do not regret picking it up because at the end of the day, it's good to be current. But this was kind of like the situation surrounding the habits I had to pick up. I started listening to news. I started listening to things that will keep me informed. I signed up for a lot of newsletters, and I started reading journals. So it was a whole journey, but the journey started with me acknowledging the fact that I had a weakness that needed to be improved. And that is one thing that self-awareness helps us do. It helps us see ourselves for what we are and gives us the grace to be honest with ourselves as we work into becoming better versions of ourselves. And as a matter of fact, you cannot practice self-love without being self-aware. There is no way you can love yourself if you don't even know yourself. So you have to know yourself to love yourself. And also, self-awareness is key to self-development. When I started my podcast last year, one question I was always asking my friends then was, how was the episode? Did you enjoy this episode? What mistake did I make? What do you think I can improve on? I remember one honest review I got, and it was from a really close friend. She listened to one of my episodes and she was like, okay, Buki, what's with the accent? I was like, accent? How? So I didn't realize that I had been consuming a certain type of content for an extended period of time, and I was already picking up the essence of the person in the content, and she knows like it's not something I would like to do or a brand I would like to have, and she called it to my attention. You know, when she told me at first, I was a bit defensive about it. Accent, what do you mean? This is how I speak. I went to watch the episode again because then we had the video and the audio. I went to watch the episode again and I saw it. So self-awareness is being open to learning new things about yourself, being open to correcting yourself, understanding that you are human and it's normal for you to sometimes make mistakes or emulate habits that are not naturally yours. And by being self-aware, you're able to have an identity. And another important thing, for you to be emotionally intelligent, you need to be self-aware to an extent, because as a self-aware person, you're not only thinking about, or you're not only occupied with thinking about yourself alone, like you're also able to be in tune with your environment. You're sensitive to the emotions of people around you. You can read the room, because as a self-aware person, you always try to read the room, you always try to read between the lines, and you treat people with respect. Okay, so one of the principles that guides me in this regard is treat people how you want to be treated. So many times when I want to do something to somebody, or when I want to put myself in check, I always try to reverse the role. If so, this person has done this thing to me, how would I have felt? How would I have reacted? And that always informs my decision. That always informs my attitude to people. But do you know the hurtful thing about this thing, about treating people how you want to be treated, is that you often expect people to do the same for you. Like, you often expect people to just treat you well because you think they want to be treated well. But you'll be surprised. Trust me, you'll be surprised. Having this mindset comes with a lot of disappointment. But you know the hurtful thing about this, you often expect the same from people, and trust me, it comes with a lot of disappointment. People will not treat you the way you treat them. People have different principles they live by, and not everybody's living by the principle you live by. So that's one hard truth that we have to come in terms with. And as the saying goes, every coin has two sides. So having this level of self-awareness that I've explained also comes with negative effects, because self-awareness becomes a roadblock when you're too self-aware. One issue is that with self-aware people, we are not spontaneous. I would not describe myself as someone who just goes with the flow. I make the flow. I find it very difficult to go with the flow, because I'm trying to understand the flow at every given point. I'm trying to see, okay, where is this flow taking me? Do I want to go where this flow is leading me to? So I always restrict myself. I always hold myself back a lot. I always put myself in check. I always scrutinize myself a lot. And to be honest, it's always a lot. Aside from being very, very careful with being spontaneous, being self-aware to just choose our words carefully, because you always try not to hurt people. You don't want to hurt their emotions. You don't want to hurt how they feel. And as a result of this, rather than expressing yourself as a self-aware person, you just see yourself holding back on a lot of things. You're unable to just say things the way they are. You're trying to sugarcoat it. You're trying to be diplomatic in your relations with people. You're also just trying to act carefully. Words are important. Your actions are even more important. And this also speaks to the fact that self-aware people, or being self-aware, makes you overly compassionate, because you just always care. You care too much. Like, we care too much, and only a few people will understand that we are not being weird by caring, but we just genuinely care. And lastly, another negative trait I've realized is, when you're too self-aware, you tend to overanalyze everything, and you might be harsh with self-judgment because you're just analyzing everything you do. And sometimes it's never that deep. Sometimes we have to just free ourselves and just live a little, make mistakes, be ourselves. Not like we're not being ourselves anyways, but like just feed into the spontaneous part of us. Sometimes we just want to be that way. I remember there was this episode I did on being an introvert, when I was like, sometimes we introverts don't like the fact that we're introverts, but we can't help it. Sometimes you just want to be that social butterfly, but you don't just have the energy to be one. So like, as someone who is self-aware, it's not like you don't want to live freely, but you just have so many things to consider, and these things keep holding us back from doing certain things, from experiencing some certain level of freedom. So by now, I think you should know that I have a keen interest in dancing, and while preparing for this episode, it clicked. I realized why I am unable to dance in public. I am unable to dance in public because I am too self-aware. Yes, it made perfect sense to me. Most dance steps these days are ones that will make you look weird. You're either making weird faces, or you're scattering your legs, or you're shaking your body very, very well. And I cannot just come to terms with the fact that I have to look a certain kind of way, or I have to look weird because I want to dance. And that is why I just stick to the simple dance. It's not like I cannot move at all. I'll just move my body in a way that makes me feel cute. When I discovered while preparing for this episode that my level of self-awareness is what is holding back my dance career, I felt sad. Because I'm like, what do I do now? A quick comic relief. I remember like years ago, I went to a birthday party on campus, and it was time to dance. I stood up, which is really unlike me, but I just felt like I could vibe to the rhythm of the song, to the beats of the song, and just shake my body small now. So I stood up, when I started solemnly moving to the beats, I was just doing my thing. I was enjoying it. So this guy just came from nowhere and asked to dance with me. Oh my God, I can never forget that day, because the memory is still very fresh in my head. Because immediately he asked the question, I didn't know what I was supposed to do next. Like, I don't know how to move my body. I was just really hustling to do the little I was doing, and you came and asked me for a dance. What do you expect me to do now? I was just like, what do I do now? How do I dance with somebody? It was a very, very, very awkward moment, and I attempted dancing because, guys now, they make you feel comfortable. You just dance, that kind of thing. I attempted dancing, but it became awkward really quickly, because I just felt like, okay, what are you doing here now? You're not doing the right thing, you're just doing rubbish. And I just rushed back to my set, and that is another reason I don't like parties. I do not know how to dance. So I just feel like when I go to parties, it looks like, oh, this person cannot vibe, or oh, this person is not fun. But I am. The only problem is I don't know how to do the fun things in the way you know how to do it. I don't know how to dance. But when I eventually clock this dancing thing, it's over. So just to briefly address this, a person who is not self-aware is the opposite of everything we've been talking about. A person who is not self-aware runs away from accountability. A person who is not self-aware is not in tune with their emotions. They do not even consider the emotions of others because they don't even see you. They do not know who they are, and they might suffer from identity crisis. In our generation now, with the use of social media, you have to have, like, to an extent, a high level of self-awareness, because you have to know who you are. If you are not sure of who you are, you might just catch yourself in this very confused state where you are constantly swayed away by people's opinion of things, even your moral standards too. So next thing, you have to know who you are, the things you want to do, the things you can see yourself doing, the things that are no for you. You have to know those things and have them grounded. I am one person who believes that life is not always in black and white. So it's not like, oh, you're either self-aware or you're not. I think there's an in-between. However, I have no idea how it works for people who are in between. Maybe it's something that comes and goes or something. I really do not have an idea about it. So while I was preparing for this episode, I specifically searched to see if there are other people like me who are too self-aware, because I know I am too self-aware. And from searching for this, I realized that there are a lot of people like me, and this discovery made me feel seen, and it made me feel not alone. So now I want to help other people that are self-aware like me, or too self-aware like me. We need to hold our ends during this moment and help ourselves feel seen. So we have a particular trait. It's called INTJ. So if you're someone that is too self-aware, and it stands for introverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. So from what I saw online, people with this INTJ personality types are intellectually curious individuals with a deep-seated thirst for knowledge. INTJs tend to value creative ingenuity, straightforward rationality, and self-improvement. They constantly work towards enhancing their intellectual abilities, and are often driven by an intense desire to master any and every topic that piques their interest. So you can read more about it online if you want to like see if this is you. It is spelled INTJ. Reading about it was I was just having like aha moments, like, oh, so this is why I am the way I am. And talking about exploring things that pique your interest, that's something I've been doing unapologetically these days. Like, I find something interesting, I go for it, I explore it. I explore it not because I just want to, but because I want to see how far I can go with it, and I give it my all when I'm at it, actually. So it was very nice for me to discover this, and it was so relatable, and it was just like, wow, there's a lot of us out there. So I have so many conversations in my head. I feel like I need an artistic form of expression, let me put it that way. I genuinely admire people who can write, because writing is one of those ways where you can express yourself and just express your feeling. Aside from writing, to people who can draw and people who can sing. Singing is out of the equation because I think it's too late for me to learn how to sing, but I'm really considering learning how to draw or learning how to write, because I just feel like there's a side to me I'm yet to know, and from what I understand, writing, painting, they can be learned. So let's just see, watch the space for what I'm going to learn from listening to me, or from the little you know about me. Let me know if you know the one that would be right for me to just use in expressing myself. I also found another question. See, this research I did was very detailed for this particular episode, so I found somebody else that happens to be too self-aware, and they asked the question on Reddit. That question reflects my thoughts, and I would be reading the question. It goes with us. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think I figured out why it's so hard for me to do normal social things that appear to be easy for most people. I am too self-aware. I can't just live in the moment and let myself go, enjoy myself, let the music take me as it were in every situation. I am constantly analyzing what I'm doing. I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly looking at what's happening around me. I find it impossible to have fun like everyone else because I can't stop thinking about what's happening and what I'm doing. Friends, this is me 100%. This person just dubbed my thoughts. This person just dubbed how I feel. Like, I just feel like I'm just too self-aware. I don't let myself be so much. Like, everything I read, that is me. And let me know if you identify with it in the comment section, and also let me know if you have tips for us. Tips. Drop your comments if you know how we can put our level of self-awareness in check. I look forward to getting your feedback. I think the episode has been a good one. So now to the big announcements before we call it a day. Guys, season 1 of the podcast is gradually coming to an end. We have 5 more episodes to go after this one, and I've decided to break the podcast in seasons because I think I need time to improve on myself, improve on the podcast, and I can be able to deliver the best content to you, best episodes back to back. I need some time to just plan, strategize. Everything is just to serve you better, to be honest. It's been a long journey. This episode 35. We've tried. We've come a long way. And so it's not like we're stopping or anything. It's just the end of season 1. In 5 episodes we'll be done, and we'll pick up the new season when, I don't know. Just stay tuned. Stay tuned to know when. So yeah, I won't be totally ghosting off. I'll be occasionally dropping videos about me, life updates. We'll just stay connected that way. You can find my socials in the description box. Yeah, something else I want to address is a lot of people have been reaching out to me to know why I stopped making videos. So I stopped making videos due to lack of time, and because the recording process became really difficult for me. I didn't have time to just stay through the process. My phone has limited storage, so it constantly gives me up. There are times where I'm recording and I've recorded, I've said a lot of things only to discover that my phone wasn't recording because the memory was already full or something. So it was really frustrating for me. A lot of times I just had to repeat the same thing over and over again. So right now I'm just working on getting everything I need to serve you better. But in the meantime, let's enjoy this episode and the 5 episodes to come and the ones that we've had already. You can listen back if you're currently facing something that's happened or that has been addressed in a previous episode. So yeah, that'll be all on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. It was really nice speaking to you. Thank you for sticking with the podcast. I love you. Bye. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Do not forget to live every moment and leave no room for regrets. Remember to follow this channel so you get notification whenever I drop a new episode. Thank you. Bye.